Sebastião Salgado, An Archaeology of the Industrial Age Workers. A mammoth book, which is over 20 odd years old now. It is about, look at the size of it, to an A4. It's thick, it's heavy, it's a mammoth long-term project where Salgado went around the world photographing workers in various different job roles in various different locations and some extreme locations like this shot here with the Brazilian gold miners, I think. It's 400 pages. This has got a plastic protection cover on, so it's just keeping it nice. And in here is a sort of a necessity in a way. It shows you, it's the plate guide basically. I call it the plate guide, the picture guide. So it's looking at each chapter, sugarcane Brazil, Cuba, tea Rwanda, tobacco Cuba, cocoa Brazil, perfume Reunion, fishing in Spain, tuna fishing Italy, slaughterhouse Dakota United States, textiles Bangladesh and Kazakhstan, bicycles Shanghai and Tianjin in China, scooters in India, motorcycles in India, automobiles Ukraine, Russia, India and China, shipyards Poland and France, shipbreaking in Bangladesh, titanium and magnesium in Kazakhstan, lead in Kazakhstan, steel France and Ukraine, railroads France, iron ore Kazakhstan, coal India, sulphur Indonesia, gold Serra Pelada Brazil. That was the back shot I showed you. Oil Baku Azerbaijan, oil wells Kuwait, Eurotunnel, the Sandar Saravava Dam in irrigation and canal in India, Rajasthan Canal and Rajasthan, India. Wow. And I think it's a lovely accompaniment to this. And it shows you, say, for example, explorers who followed Christopher Columbus to Cuba and Central America found the indigenous people smoking a primitive form of cigar. And it's just delving into the workers still involved with that. And you've got, and what I'm fascinated in is the Brazilian side with some of his most famous stuff was the Brazilian gold miners and the gold Serra Pelada. And not since the building of pyramids by thousands of slaves or the Klondike gold rush in Alaska has such an epic scale of human drama been witnessed. 50,000 mud-soaked men digging for gold at Serra Pelada in the Brazilian state of Pará. We'll look at that in a sec. 400 pages, it's heavy, it's wonderful. It was a real accomplishment back in the 90s when this came out. And I met Salgado at that period in the 90s. I found him to be a very warm, nice individual, and I've never heard really any negatives about Salgado. He has a way of working. He likes grainy film. There's lots of stories about his high speed in film and his techniques. I love the way he develops his work. I love the way he works. He's very complicated in his processes, and so what? He's very complicated in his projects. His pictures are very simple. They're subject-led. There's a beauty in the shots. His work is heavily. It always creates discussions. His subject matters create discussions. He asks questions about how you view the moment, how you view the workers, because he's quite a wealthy photographer because of the work he does, and he's photographing people who are less fortunate themselves, and there's a question mark on that. But you know, he's educating the communities, he's educating people, he's giving some people a voice in a way. So I think it's worth it. I think it's interesting. I think if photography will always open up to debate, and that's the beauty of it. And let's just trying to think who this is by. I think, is this Eric Nakamura's work? Let me just see who does the intro here. It doesn't say, but there's quite a few pages of an insight into who. Okay, so sorry, I think I'm just trying to work out who this is. Who wrote that? It was an introduction. Here's some picture guides, and we've got chapter 1. So I'm going to refer to the book. Salgado is aesthetic led. Everything about his technique, his process, the way he looks at the palette, and it's all about aesthetics. It's all about the depth of greys, the depth of blackness, the depth of whites. Even though they feel contrasty, there's no there's a greyness to it all. There's no like extreme white and there's no extreme blacks. I think that's as extreme as the white goes on there. But there's a beauty in the greyness of it. There's a grain in it with the type of film he uses. There's a way he processes his film. There's a way he develops his film. There was a way he prints his film, and there's also a special way of getting the prints of this quality onto the final pages of the book. Light for Salgado is important. This is sugarcane. I'm just trying to distinguish whether it's Brazil or Cuba. There's a beauty within this. It's almost like a painting. It's quite intoxicating, and there's a texture, there's a richness in the texture of the grain, there's a richness in the texture of the blacks, the greys, and I could keep saying, and it's like a painter's canvas. It's stunning. I guess with the high-speed film he uses a lot, you can get in a lot of low light, and there's richness in the darkness, there's richness everywhere. It's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I've been a fan of his work for a long time. And why initially I was a fan, because of his aesthetics and the way he used composition, the way he used light, the way he used this to tell a story, and that was so important to him. It feels like each picture was important. Like looking at something like this let me just check where this is. I presume this is Rwanda. I may be wrong. This is page 41. Yeah, 41. So that's establishing the land, and this is look at the texture on the hands. Look at how big it is compared to my hands. I've not got small hands, but it's showing so much of the person. And the tea, and going back again, establishing. So we've gone here from establishing shot, focus right in on the tea and the people. That's as an important shot as looking at in the face, and then the workers in the tea plantation. And look at that! Isn't it almost like a work of art, isn't it? Look at that. And I remember this sort of picture, these pictures here really inspired me when I went to Asia and was trying to recreate the way and reinvent the way I photograph people, and I was using black and white. It was really influential, and it's still influential to me. And it's not the subject, it's the way he's executed the subject, and that sounds really wrong, but it's the way he's executed the taking of the pictures and the importance of it. He makes it beautiful, and he makes it significant, and it makes it, when it's really aesthetically perfect, you get a sort of attachment with the subject, and you feel an affinity with the subject. And I think that's the way Salgado works, and I think that's why he chooses that long-term project, because it grows with him. He gets a better understanding, and he delivers that. There's a real closeness, and that closeness is that closeness is validated with his use of design, his use of aesthetics, his use of choice of subject, his closeness to how he chooses to get right in there. We're just leaving Cuba now, and we're going to Coca in Brazil. And a lot of this stuff here, you know, he makes it look easy, but a lot of this stuff's like really low light, you know, it's incredible. I'm going to jump a few pages here, and we've come out of Corker. Let's just jump into Corker. So there we are. I think we're still in Corker there. No, we are, let's go back to that thingy. We're in perfume. Oh, right, wow. So in perfume. Wow, look at that, look at that. I think that Barth's quote of immortalising the moment is quite apt with a lot of this. You know, he uses light as an expression. It's surreal. I bet it never. I bet it wasn't like this. I bet that the way he exposed it to give that abstract, to give that emptiness, to give that actual added depth was really important. So we're on tuna fishing. We're fishing in Galicia. Oh, look at that. We're fishing Spain. Wow. If somebody's seen Salgado's Genesis, which was his current big project, which I will show I've got, what he makes look easy is his positioning. And in Genesis, it's sort of mind-blowing how he's taken some of these shots. It must have took him days to get to these locations and waiting for the right moment to happen, the light, because it wouldn't have worked any other way. And just for him to be here in this particular place and knowing what he needs to get, it's phenomenal. Tuna fishing, we're back into maybe the ceremony side of the working side. We're in Italy now. There's a guy sleeping there. It's almost like a Rembrandt style. Is it the Rembrandt lighting? It's almost like a sort of Rembrandt painting, you know. This is one of his famous shots from the tuna fishing. And that one there. And I like the way this book, look at that. I like the way this book folds out into more pages, because he's trying to give more of an insight and more of a justification of who he's looking at and what he's looking at. And it's just a fantastic book of greys and blacks and whites and people who are getting on with their everyday lives, and he just he shows so much understanding with his subject, and he just makes it look so easy. Where am I now? Look at that. We are in Textiles, and I presume that's in Kazakhstan. Look at the beauty of that. Isn't that just fantastic? So I'm not showing you all of this. You should go out and buy it. You can easily get it. You can buy different editions, and you can buy this for a few quid if you're lucky. You can spend a lot of money on buying this, but it's there to buy. I just wanted to show you. I wanted to give you some insight. I could spend a week talking about this. I don't want to make it too deep. I don't want to make it too heavy. I just want you to think about things when you look at things like this. If you're a student, how could this inspire you to get out there? How could this inspire you for composition? How could this inspire you to work in available light? You know, this is not pin sharp. It doesn't matter. It's the dynamics. It's how he uses light to immortalize that moment, how he uses light to give you an insight into an environment which you may never see. As a photographer, you're privileged. You can go to these places and find ways to these places, and when you're looking at stuff, you can see stuff in a way which will tell the world how you see these things, and that's what Salgado does so fantastically. I ain't going to show you all of that, but just look at that. You know, when you're thinking about, you know, I think they look like manifolds or something, or whatever they are in exhausts, and how they work together in composition. And there's a Cortez shot which he puts stuff in front, and I love, it's one of my favourite shots by Cortez, where he puts like some crates in front of the shot, and there's the Eiffel Tower, and you know, he uses the foreground and background to play it, and Salgado does this all the time. And look at that, what looks like a woman working on the car with her little shorts on and stuff. It's just asking questions and showing contradictions and stuff like that. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And again, you know, they're not pin sharp. He uses a lot of grain. He's on a high-speed film, and there was always, I would say there might be some problems with the sharpness on it. I guess he's using Leica, and it's this big as well. You're always going to get some, you know, nothing's going to be that pin sharp, but it's not about that. It's a palette, it's a canvas, and Salgado does this so well. Where are we now? We are in either Ukraine, Russia, India, or China. I presume we're in India. Oh, look at that. Now, we are in Poland, I think, and there's a shot which he has of the shipyards. Isn't that just stunning? Oh, I mean, how could that not inspire anybody to go out and take pictures? Could inspire you to get up at 2 a.m. to try and get that probably foggy morning or something like that. But his understanding, he's used wide angle, it hasn't distorted anything. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And, you know, he might set stuff up. You might get people to walk there, you know, and treat it like that sort of corporate environment. Who knows? But he's there. He's doing it. He's showing it. And look at that. That is the shot. This is on my wall at home. It's been a picture I've had in a frame for a long time. I've looked at this shot so often in my life and wondered where the ship was, and did it float, and did it sink, and it's just an amazing shot. When you've got it big on the wall, it's breathtaking. This is Bangladesh. This is the breakers. There's a lot of people covered this, and the depth of scale, the understanding of positioning, the understanding of right focal length, right angle of view, right point of view. Just, you know, the greys and the blacks working together. And the scale again, I could open it up into this whole sort of journey of pictures and opening, understanding. Look at that. This is just, you know, for anybody, this is 20 odd years old. And it's an education when you look at something like this. I think this is the SNCF. Is it the SNCF? Look at that. And I love this big picture thing with using the small pictures here. Oh, it's just wonderful. The Channel Tunnel, I presume. Wow. Look at that. And that is Iron Ore, Kazakhstan. Look at that. You know, there's tungsten work this, look at that. That's one of his famous shots. This was, I have a calendar, Magnum calendar from a long time ago, and it's got this as the cover. I'll get it out and have a look at it, it's wonderful. What I want to get to, what I'm going to sign off with on this, because I think if you want to get out and look at this, you need to buy this book, even if you just buy this book for this alone. I mean, this is the gold Serra Pelada in Brazil. This is like, as it states, 50,000 mud-soaked men. You know, I guess people live here, die on here, and are born on here probably, but are born to it in a sense. When we reflect our own lives and working conditions, and we, you know, like just having sanitary facilities and health and safety and all of that, and there are people like this are just maybe entrapped in this lifestyle. It just makes you put everything into perspective, how lucky we are to have such a sort of comfortable lifestyle. And you look at this, at the scale of this, it's just beyond belief. And I've seen a few attempts with photographers to do this. Oh God, look. I've seen other photographers go down to Serra Pelada and try to document this, and nothing came quite close to it than what Salgado did here. I think this is just this is for me as a Salgado, this is what he does in Genesis. It's almost biblical in a way. He's using the textures, he's using the tone, he's using pattern, shape, everything. This is where it all comes together. But it doesn't just come together with aesthetic and design elements. It comes together with the process, the film type, the production, the post-production, to the final presentation. And this is what Salgado does fantastically. I'm not even going to show you all of these, but it's just an epic proportion, isn't it? And look. So 3, 2, 1, where are we now? We've come out of Brazil. We're now in Baku in Azerbaijan. And I'm skimming a lot of pages here. I don't want to show you all of them because I hope I've created enough insight here. This sort of mammoth production that you need to go out and have this in your collection, in whatever edition you need to go and get it. Oh, look, I mean, it's almost like Soviet, 20th century Soviet propaganda posters, isn't it? It's just phenomenal. And you've got to remember, there's like hundreds of beautiful pictures here. This is not just one-offs, and it's like everything. And I remember these shots. Now this was the oil wells of Kuwait, wasn't it? About 91. So Saddam invaded Kuwait, and we went to liberate Kuwait. And when they pulled out, they set fire to all of the oil wells in Kuwait. And this was all the engineers from around the world, I think, coming to quell the fires and quell the oil. And to get into that, I mean, you can see these guys are covered. You imagine putting a Leica and yourself in this environment. It must have been hell. But what does he come up with? I mean, look at that. And again, Salgado is not the only one who attempted to do this, but, you know, Salgado left his imprint on that. It's just, look at it. It's incredible. It's just, and I guess this is all oil, and look at them. Can you imagine what the photographer's like? Can you imagine what Salgado's like? It's raining oil, you know? It's incredible. So from here he goes on to the Euro Tunnel, he goes on to the Sandor Sarava Dam, and then he goes to the Rajasthan Canal in India. So that is page 378. And that's where I'm going to end. Look at that. And that's a great example if you don't want your baby and the kids in the shot, you know, get the veil, and it just doesn't have to have a person staring. It's the feeling the photograph evokes, and the composition and the message of beauty which Salgado's trying to convey here. And look at that. Get out and buy this. A lot of the girls are staying anonymous, but then there's an interesting shot of everybody looking at the camera. And I've worked in brick places like this in Bangladesh, and the heat is phenomenal. And I think that's a lovely way to end this beautiful, beautiful depiction of workers around the world. Go and learn something with this, go and buy this, and get into Salgado's work, because it's sort of epic proportions, it's monumental. It's a lesson in aesthetics, it's a lesson in dealing with subject matter, it's an observational wonder in a sense, and I think you can only learn off stuff like this. Get out and buy it, take some stock from it, and invest some of that knowledge into your own work. Thank you.